The Bold and the Beautiful, Bill's shocking confession, the adoption gambit, the paternity cover-up, and a new war for the next Spencer heir power. Control. Redemption. On The Bold and the Beautiful, those aren't just desires, they are weapons. And no one knows how to wield them quite like Bill Spencer. For weeks, speculation swirled, truths twisted, and alliances broke as the Luna Nozawa scandal fractured the lives of the Forresters, Spencers, and everyone caught between. But what comes next redefines the entire battlefield. The smoke from Luna's supposed death had barely settled when the world learned she was still alive. But the real fire ignites when Bill Spencer steps into the light. Not with vengeance, not with threats, but with something far more dangerous. A confession. In an unprecedented move, Bill calls an emergency press conference inside the boardroom of Spencer Publications. The room is packed. Reporters, staff, his own family, all buzzing from the rumors that he's about to reveal the truth about Luna, about the baby, and about the war everyone's been fighting over shadows and secrets. The cameras roll. The world holds its breath. Bill steps up to the mic, not as the ruthless CEO or calculating strategist, but as a man ready to take responsibility for everything. There's been a lot of pain in the past few months, he begins. A lot of damage, not just to reputations, not just to families, but to a child who hasn't even been born yet. He pauses, then drops the bomb. Luna Nozawa is not my enemy. She's the mother of my grandchild. And I intend to bring her home. Gasps ripple through the room. Reporters exchange stunned looks. But Bill doesn't stop there. I'm not just talking about legal custody, he continues. I'm talking about bringing Luna into this family permanently. I've begun the paperwork to adopt Luna Nozawa as my legal daughter, so that the child she's carrying will be raised in a home filled with love, structure, and a family that doesn't punish the innocent for the mistakes of the past. The declaration shatters every expectation. The man who once led the charge to strip Luna of everything is now offering her a way back in, a seat at the Spencer table. But his motives? They run deeper than compassion. Because Bill isn't done talking. Not by a long shot. I've made mistakes, he says. And now it's time I own one of the biggest. A long pause. Every eye is locked on him. The paternity test, the one that claimed Will Spencer was not the father of Luna's child, was tampered with. I ordered the results to be changed. I paid for it to be buried. The room explodes. Flashbulbs. Shouts. Shock. Katie Logan stares from the corner of the room, frozen. Will, if he's watching from wherever he's been hiding, is learning the truth the same time as the public. Steffi, Ridge, Taylor, every Forrester connected to this drama, feels the rug ripped from beneath them. Because in one stroke, Bill Spencer has not only undone months of narrative control, but revealed just how far he was willing to go to decide the fate of his family by force. The truth is brutal. Will is the father. Luna didn't lie. She didn't manipulate the test. She never knew the truth herself. It was Bill who decided the result. And it was Electra, once believed to be neutral, who accepted the money and delivered the doctored test, under Bill's explicit instructions. And now, everything changes. The decision to adopt Luna, according to Bill, is not just about righting a wrong. It's about protecting the next generation. That child deserves a life free of blood feuds and smear campaigns, he says. It deserves to be raised with dignity, not in the shadows of family grudges. But others see it differently. Katie is furious. Her trust has been shattered, and her son has spent weeks crushed under the weight of rejection. All because Bill wanted to control the damage. She storms out before the conference ends, unwilling to sit through the PR cleanup. Will? No one knows where he is yet. Rumors swirl that he's been in treatment, spiraling from the emotional chaos of the scandal. And now this truth, delivered publicly, without warning, may be the final blow. Electra, now exposed, goes silent. She disappears from the press circuit, her loyalty forever stained. She had been seen by some as a rising force in the family. Now, she's nothing more than a name on a transaction. Another piece in Bill's grand design. What she was promised remains unclear, but it's evident now that her silence was bought, not earned. Meanwhile, Steffi reacts with rage. She calls it manipulation disguised as mercy. You don't adopt the woman who seduced your son just to cover your mistakes, she tells Finn. This isn't redemption. This is strategy. Ridge agrees. Bill's playing the long game. He's wrapping Luna in the Spencer name so that no one can challenge what comes next. And what is next? A custody war that now has no legal barrier. With the paternity test truth out, Bill will have an undeniable blood claim to Luna's child. And by making Luna his legal daughter, Bill positions himself as the stable figurehead capable of raising the child while guiding Luna into a softer public role. He's not just saving Luna, he's neutralizing her as a threat. But Luna? She's not a pawn. From the hidden desert facility where she was being held, or where she was last seen, Luna is already on the move. The news of Bill's public confession has reached her. Whether through smuggled radio, sympathetic guard, or cracked security, she now knows the truth. Her child's father never abandoned her. The man she thought rejected her was lied to, manipulated, controlled by the same force that kept her caged. And now that she knows, her silence is over. The questions become explosive. Who was behind the desert prison? Who had the power to isolate Luna, feed her lies, and keep her in the dark? Was it someone working under Bill's orders? Or was there another force? An outside player using Luna as a bargaining chip, waiting for the exact moment to reintroduce her into the world with a different story? The W bracelet, the forced silence, the prenatal care with an agenda. All of it, now, is under scrutiny. As Bill's adoption announcement dominates the headlines, Luna begins her journey back, determined to reclaim her voice, her name, and her child's future. But she's no longer just a mother in hiding. She's the center of a political, financial, and emotional vortex. And her next move will determine whether Bill's confession becomes his redemption or his downfall. Because the truth may have been revealed, but the consequences are just beginning. Will Luna accept the adoption? Will she forgive Bill? Will Will be able to reconnect with her after so much betrayal? And will Katie, Steffi, and the Forresters allow a woman they fought so hard to erase to become a Spencer in name and status? The bold and the beautiful has always thrived on secrets. But this secret wasn't just personal. It was strategic. Bill Spencer tried to write the ending himself. But Luna Nozawa is coming back to write her own. And this time, no lie, no adoption, no empire will decide her future but her. And when she returns, pregnant, powerful, and unafraid, Los Angeles won't know what hit it. The bold and the beautiful, the fall and fight of Bill Spencer. The courtroom was packed. Cameras clicked in a frenzy just outside the courthouse doors while reporters swarmed like vultures, eager to pick apart the carcass of Bill Spencer's once pristine public image. The man himself stood at the center of a storm entirely of his own making. After publicly admitting to bribing Elektra to falsify critical test results, a calculated move to manipulate legal outcomes and protect his interests, Bill found himself not only disgraced but targeted. The fallout was immediate and ruthless. For a man who had built his empire on dominance, control, and carefully managed power plays, the scandal was a complete unraveling. The public was furious. His corporate partners backed away in shame. And his own family, once the last bastion of loyalty, recoiled in disbelief. Bill's betrayal wasn't just legal, it was deeply personal. It had shattered the foundation of trust with the very people he claimed to protect. But Bill, ever the strategist, wasn't down for long. Even in disgrace, he saw a path forward. One paved with calculated vulnerability and a carefully disguised protective instinct. He filed for emergency guardianship of Luna, the young woman now caught at the heart of the scandal, whom he shockingly asked to adopt as his own daughter. Luna was no stranger to hardship. Her sudden arrest had ignited a public firestorm. And though the charges were murky, the damage to her reputation was clear. She sat behind bars, isolated, frightened, and, most tragically, pregnant. Bill's motion to move her from jail to house arrest under his care was met with mixed reactions. He cited health concerns for the unborn child, his grandchild, and claimed that a correctional facility was no place for a young, expectant mother. But few could ignore the implications. Was this truly an act of redemption, or another calculated maneuver by a man used to bending the world to his will? Will Spencer, Bill's son and Luna's ex-lover, was perhaps the most devastated by the revelation. Discovering that his father had manipulated the test results that could have cleared Luna or shifted the weight of public perception, left him spiraling. Will had always carried the burden of being Bill Spencer's son, with pride and pressure in equal measure. But this betrayal was different. It wasn't just business. It was family. It was about a child. His child. Will's heart was a battlefield. On one side raged his fury at Bill, the lies, the manipulation, the damage done. On the other side, a quiet but powerful voice, the baby. His baby, the child growing inside Luna, now thrust into a world already steeped in chaos and resentment. Will couldn't deny the bond, no matter how badly he wanted to distance himself from the wreckage. Luna, meanwhile, was suspended in a moral purgatory. Bill had saved her from the cruel isolation of a jail cell, that much was true. And in her most fragile moments, she had felt a genuine sense of gratitude. But gratitude didn't erase truth. It didn't undo the manipulation. She knew what Bill had done, and she knew the cost. But she also knew that hatred, if she let it in, would poison everything, including the life she carried. So she chose clarity. She chose strength. Not silence, but not vengeance either. She walked a tightrope between the chaos of her protectors and the future of her child. As the court date approached, tension pulsed through every thread of the Spencer family. Whispers swirled in the press. Would Bill go to prison for obstruction? Was this all just a ploy for control? Was Will prepared to step up and be a father, alone? Then came the hearing. The courtroom was like a stage, and every player was poised. Bill, flanked by his legal team, stood grim but composed. Luna, fragile but grounded, sat with her defense attorney and maternal strength in her eyes. Will, shaken but resolute, stared straight ahead, prepared to face the man he no longer recognized as a father. The judge called for statements. The room tensed. Bill rose first. No theatrics. No spin. Just words. I'm not going to stand here and pretend that I haven't made mistakes. I bribed Electra. I manipulated evidence. I thought I was protecting my son, protecting my legacy. But what I did was break trust. I crossed a line, several, in fact, and for that, I am truly sorry. Not just to this court but to my son. To Luna. And to the child they're about to bring into this world. I can't undo what I did. But I can take responsibility for it. The courtroom was silent. For a man like Bill, an open apology was unprecedented. But it was only the beginning. Then Will stood. The transformation was stark. Gone was the broken, betrayed son. In his place stood a man fighting for something bigger than justice, purpose. I won't pretend to understand everything that's happened, or even why it happened. I don't forgive what my father did. But I do understand this, there is a child on the way. My child. And that child deserves better than the war they're being born into. They deserve peace, safety, and love. I want the chance to give them that. I'm asking this court for permission to be involved. To support Luna. To support this baby. And to be the kind of father my child deserves. Regardless of what happens between us. Gasps rippled through the room. Even Bill's face twitched with emotion. The judge considered the statements carefully. The hearing had started as a legal sideshow. But what unfolded was something closer to reckoning. A family peeling back layers of power. Betrayal. And love. Outside, the press scrambled to capture the headlines, but the real story was quieter. It wasn't about Bill Spencer's fall from grace. It was about what came next. Luna, now under house arrest, moved into a private wing of the Spencer estate. Not out of loyalty, but pragmatism. The baby's health was paramount. Will visited often, quietly helping where he could. Their conversations were cautious at first. But slowly, painfully, a bridge began to rebuild between them. Bill, meanwhile, kept his distance. He faced disciplinary hearings, financial investigations, and the real possibility of criminal charges. But for once, he didn't fight to dominate the narrative. He let it burn. He sat with the consequences, alone in the silence of the empire he'd nearly destroyed. In time, perhaps, there would be forgiveness. Maybe even redemption. But for now, the wounds were still raw. The baby's due date approached like a ticking clock. Every moment mattered. Every decision counted. And as the storm began to calm, the real challenge emerged. Not the scandals or the court battles, but the day-to-day courage it would take to raise a child in a world still healing from the lies that built it. No matter what name the child would carry, they would be born into a legacy of fire and rebuilding. And for the first time, maybe that legacy would be shaped not by power or pride, but by truth. And that, more than any scandal, any courtroom drama, any public apology, was the boldest move of all. The bold and the beautiful. Blood, power, and a contract of redemption. The fallout from Bill Spencer's confession had only just begun to settle when he made his next move. Not a retreat, but a counterattack with a moral twist. The media called it damage control. His inner circle called it madness. But to Bill, it was something else entirely, salvation. Not just for himself, but for Luna, for Will, and for the unborn child already shadowed by scandal. Luna was in crisis, locked up, pregnant, and emotionally drowning. The public viewed her with suspicion, her name dragged through every tabloid and court filing. Bill, haunted by his role in the chaos, couldn't ignore the consequences of what he'd done. His manipulation of Electra, the falsified test results, the lies, all of it, it had put Luna behind bars, had destabilized Will, and had jeopardized a life not yet born. He needed a way to fix it. Not a gesture, not a payout, something real, something binding. Enter the fatherhood agreement. Bill approached his legal team with a radical proposal. Construct a legal framework that would allow him to adopt Luna as his daughter, placing her under his personal guardianship and removing her from state custody. It wasn't a simple motion for house arrest, it was a full, high-stakes legal contract. If it worked, Luna would be relocated to the Spencer estate, under 24/7 medical care from a private OB/GYN team and psychiatric specialists. She would have peace, comfort, security, and Bill would ensure that no stress, no courtroom, no headline would touch the child she carried. But the deal had a cost. The court wouldn't sign off on such a drastic transfer without ironclad accountability. Bill's lead attorney delivered the terms like a blade to the gut. The judge wants a full confession and the original payment records. All of it, wire transfers, emails, off-book accounts. You give them that, and they might give you the girl. It was a legal suicide note. Handing over the evidence would expose Bill to obstruction, witness tampering, fraud, possibly jail time. His empire would suffer and the sharks would circle. But in Bill's mind, there was no other path. He agreed. He gave them everything. What he didn't know was that someone else had already been digging. Will Spencer, bruised by betrayal and consumed with guilt over Luna's suffering, had gone looking for answers. Not to protect Bill, not anymore, but to find clarity. In the digital dust of Spencer Publications' private servers, Will uncovered the final piece. A hidden ledger documenting the illegal payment to Electra. Cold numbers, coded descriptions, a smoking gun. He confronted his father in the dead of night. No press, no lawyers, just father and son and the wreckage between them. Will tossed the document on the table. I found it. You didn't come clean. You were going to bury this and buy your way out again. You haven't changed. Bill didn't fight. He didn't deny. He simply nodded. Then forced me to face it. Make sure I can't run. Will did exactly that. He marched the document to the courthouse himself, demanding it be entered into evidence. He didn't care about the Spencer name, not anymore. He only cared about the child. His child, and the woman carrying it, who was being broken by the very system Bill had manipulated. The judge reviewed the revised proposal with the new evidence. It was radical but legal. Luna would be released under the conditions of the fatherhood agreement, and Bill Spencer would be officially listed as her legal guardian and adoptive father for the duration of her pregnancy and recovery. The catch: all final decisions regarding the care and upbringing of the child would require Luna's signed consent, and any abuse of power by Bill would void the contract entirely. Luna signed, but not without terms. In a quiet, composed voice, she dictated her conditions to the court. This child will not be raised in fear. Decisions will not be made with money or manipulation. No legal threats, no PR campaigns. Only love, only what's best, and if any part of this becomes about control again, I walk away. This is not a business deal. This is about life. Even the judge paused, but it was Will who changed the game. Reading the room, reading Luna, reading his own wounds, Will stepped forward and asked to add one final clause. Mandatory family therapy. It's not just Luna who needs healing, he said. It's me. It's my father. It's all of us. This baby deserves a clean slate, and we're not going to fake it. If we're going to do this, we're going to do it with accountability. The courtroom was silent. Then, the judge signed. Just like that, the contract was law. Luna was released that same afternoon, driven in a quiet convoy to the Spencer estate. No press allowed. A private wing had been renovated in 48 hours. Soft light, medical staff, therapeutic support, no corporate buzz or boardroom distractions. Bill had poured millions into the environment. But Luna made one thing clear. None of that bought forgiveness. Her days were scheduled: medical exams, rest, nutrition, therapy. Will came daily, not with flowers or apologies but with presence. He helped build the nursery. He took parenting classes. He stayed late for therapy, unpacking generational trauma, asking hard questions. He stopped trying to fix everything and started trying to understand. Bill, meanwhile, faced the media. He stood before 100 cameras and admitted to the bribery, the cover-up, the manipulation. He didn't ask for sympathy. He didn't blame stress, or legacy, or pressure. He simply said, I failed. I failed my son. I failed Luna. And I failed to protect the future that matters most. That ends now. He submitted himself to disciplinary hearings and financial review boards. Half his board resigned. Several sponsors withdrew. But Bill didn't flinch. For once, the empire wasn't his focus. The nursery was. Therapy sessions were brutal. Years of silence and distance between father and son were peeled back like old wallpaper. Thin layers covering deeper rot. Will screamed. Bill shut down. Luna cried. But through it all, they stayed. They showed up. When Luna entered her third trimester, something shifted. The house became quieter, more peaceful. Decisions were shared. Tension gave way to cooperation. Will and Luna laughed, once, twice, then regularly. Bill didn't push. He simply watched, learned, adjusted. When the baby kicked for the first time in front of all three of them, no one spoke. There was nothing to say. It was the child, not the contract, not the court, that had pulled them back from the edge. Weeks later, At another therapy session, Will said it out loud. I want us to raise this child together. But not as a power play. As a family. Not perfect. Not polished. Just honest. Luna didn't answer right away. But she didn't walk away either. And that, to Will, meant everything. The baby's name hadn't been chosen yet. No gender reveal. No Instagram post. Just a quiet promise from 3 broken people trying to build something better. The fatherhood agreement had started as a loophole. A legal stunt to get Luna out of jail and save Bill's reputation. But in the end, it had done something no one expected. It had started a healing. And in the world of the bold and the beautiful, that might be the rarest twist of all.